Much like when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor back in the 1940s, Studio MAPPA has taken over the anime world by a storm this year. Now, they produced 4 of the biggest anime that came out this year, and there is no end in sight to their dominance. Now, most people, sheep you might call them, are perfectly content drinking the MAPPA piss-colored Kool-Aid, but not me. Not me. I'm a free thinker, I think for myself, and I'm going to talk about the problems I have with Studio MAPPA. To show you what I'm talking about, let's look at Studio MAPPA's most recent project, Jujutsu Cracked Season 2. And if you haven't seen Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1, I highly recommend it. It's one of the 2 anime I would consider great that's made by Studio MAPPA. And I was watching the most recent episode, and I came across this fight that looked like absolute shit. Now, there's kind of been a change in directors between Season 1 and Season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen, so I was kind of holding back my criticism. A lot of the stuff in the first core looked pretty good, but this fight just kind of blew my mind. Essentially, we'll call it Yuji versus Grasshopper Goon. Yuji's fighting this guy, he looks like a grasshopper, and he busts out this One Punch Man 2 style attack where he's basically just flurry of punches, right? It's just like fist, 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 fist. You know the kind of fight I'm talking about. Studio MAPPA has never used this stuff, never used this attack anywhere in Jujutsu Kaisen before, right? It degraded the quality, and it was something that I had not been expected to see. And I'm not talking about the ghosting and the dimming that's been all over Twitter. I'm talking about that flurry of punches type of attack that's never been used in Jujutsu Kaisen before, as far as I know. There are plenty of other fights, like Gojo versus I can't remember his name, but the black dude in the movie. You know, that was animated really, really well. You know, I wasn't trying to be pedantic, I was going to let it slide, until I saw the next episode where they had Gojo running around like Devilman Crybaby, like doing the goofy, that run. It pissed me off, and I may sound pedantic, making, big deals out of these little things, but that drop in quality is what takes a great anime and turns it into a good anime. And Jujutsu Kaisen, I believe, deserve better, and Studio MAPPA cannot consistently hold themselves to the level of quality I think most fans would be happy with. Now, this drop in quality isn't unique to Jujutsu Kaisen. It's actually more apparent in the anime Studio MAPPA has taken over from other studios. And you might be quick to say, meh, it's just a difference in animation style. No. I did a whole video dissecting the changes in Attack on Titan between Studio MAPPA and Studio Wit, and it's clearly a difference in attention to detail. I'll link that video down below, but let's look at a scene from Vinland Saga. Now, this first scene I want to look at is from Season 1 of Vinland Saga, and it's the scene of Askeladd and Thorfinn's final fight. It's the monumental moment of Season 1, and it's really just Askeladd monologuing. It starts off with a frontal POV close-up of Askeladd, a pan-angled shot, switches to a pan-quarter close-up, goes into a super close-up shot of Askeladd's crotch for some reason. We get a wide-angle shot, another super close-up frontal, a super close-up profile, a close-up side profile. We get a wide angle with a foreground obstruction, really beautiful shot with Bjorn's body kind of being the focus. We get a back shot of Askeladd walking away, super close-up of his mouth, a wide-angle back shot, and then a spin close-up. Essentially, we get a huge dynamic range of shots all blocked out with a pattern. There's a sort of an idea behind the scene, an action of Askeladd. He walks to a place with purpose. He walks away from the place with purpose. There's a whole structure there, and it ends in the most beautiful moment with Thorfinn kind of reaching out, running after him. Very powerful theme, very powerful scene, very well thought out scene. Now, let's compare this to one of Studio MAPPA's scenes from Season 2. This is the scene between Thorfinn and Canute, where Thorfinn basically tells Canute to stop being a little bitch and get off his island, and then Canute starts laughing like the Joker, but then gets off Thorfinn's island. It's really the most powerful scene from Season 2, and this is how they handled it. We start off with a zoom in, zoom out of Thorfinn frontal. We get a zoom in, zoom out of Canute frontal. We get another Canute frontal wide shot. All frontal shots, by the way. A frontal of Thorfinn, a frontal of Canute. Wow! The first time we get a profile shot. We get an angle profile of Canute, an angle profile of Thorfinn, a frontal of Thorfinn, a frontal of Canute, and then Thorfinn walks off. Basically, the entire scene is just a ping pong between Canute and Thorfinn. They're just standing there staring at each other. There's very little effort to try to tell something interesting or dynamic through these shots, right? And I'm not saying that, that's bad necessarily. Some scenes call for that. But this is kind of the monumental scene of season 2. And there's just significantly less effort. Now, a lot of sheep watch MAPPA's treatment of season 2 and like, oh my gosh, it looks so beautiful. It looks so beautiful. Because of that stupid, oversaturated, pissed yellow filter that MAPPA puts on it. You're literally sheep. You are literally sheep if you think that this scene is better than what Studio Wit did. I'm sorry. You're buying into that saturation, which is what they did for the entirety of Chainsaw Man. Literally, every scene of Chainsaw Man looks like Breaking Bad when they go to Mexico. That's how bad it is, right? And I'm not saying it doesn't fit Chainsaw Man, because it does, but it's there. You gotta understand that MAPPA, they use that oversaturated effect, and it makes it look prettier than it actually is. Speaking of Chainsaw Man is truly MAPPA's masterpiece. I mean, they funded it themselves, out of pocket, so they really had an interest in making it do well, right? I mean, go watch that scene of Denji feeling up Miss Makima again. Like, every shot in that scene was done so well. There was such a great idea behind that scene. My heart rate went up for Denji. And I watched this scene like 10 times for research, for making this video, right? No other reason I'd be watching that scene. The difference between Chainsaw Man and Vinland Saga, in my opinion, it's apparent that MAPPA truly cared about Chainsaw Man. And, there's the financial reason that they cared about it, but they also just enjoyed making the series. I mean, you don't make a unique outro for every episode unless you really care about the series. And this brings me to my point of the video, that MAPPA makes a lot of good anime. They have a very high bar for every anime they make. They make a good anime, but they make very few great anime. And to make a great anime, you really have to care. Let's think for a second about some of the great anime that have come out over the past decade. We got One Punch Man, right? A relatively obscure manga that was animated so well, it was so beautiful, the comedic timing was perfect, every fight was just 10 out of 10 amazing. It blew up, right? The story behind it had a lot of potential, and through Madhouse's execution, it became great. Another great example, let's look at Attack on Titan seasons 1 through 3, right? Attack on Titan, the art in the manga was kind of bad. It was pretty obscure. It had a following, but it wasn't a global manga. It wasn't something that people read who weren't like into it, right? Studio Wit came out, they hit us with the 4D whippity split Levi ODM shots, and it blew up. It was Wit's attention to detail, their care, their love for the show, raising the bar in terms of what animation could be, that made Attack on Titan the phenomenal success that it is. The problem with Studio MAPPA is they have access to all the best manga. They get the pick of the litter when it comes to manga, and yet they don't have the love and the craft it takes to make these manga into worldwide phenomena, most of the time. So far they've done it with Jujutsu Kaisen, they've done it with Chainsaw Man, but they really haven't done much to raise the bar for a lot of the other series they've taken on. And this is painfully apparent with Hell's Paradise. Hell's Paradise, if you don't know, was one of MAPPA's first projects this year, and it really had a lot going for it. It had a pretty cool premise. It was about these samurai people who had to go to this island and get the elixir of life for this dying emperor. The problem is, MAPPA just put it on the back burner. They gave it very average animation, and because the story was kind of cool, it ended up being kind of good. It ended up being not bad, but if it had been done by another studio like Studio Wit or Studio Ufotable that actually kind of care about their projects, I think it would have been the anime of the season. Instead, it kind of was just a good anime. It was an anime everybody watched, but it wasn't great. And I think it had the potential to be great. And this is where MAPPA, I think, is a little bit spoiled in that they get the pick of the litter and then they can just make it look okay because the story is so great, right? Contrast this with Ufotable. Ufotable is animating the most 3 out of 10 piece of shit Demon Slayer. Like, Tanjiro is the worst protagonist I've seen in a long time. Like, he's so boring, so stereotypical shonen, and yet Ufotable is going into this show. They're making it look absolutely phenomenal, giving it next level animation. I feel like they're trying to see how hard they can try, how far they can make this dog shit show based off of their animation. It's like they're flexing. The solution to this problem isn't really rocket science. I mean, MAPPA's just got to stop taking on so many projects. I mean, they had 4 huge anime this year, plus a movie, and they're expecting to, make all of them be really, really good. There's no way. There's no way. I mean, they don't even have to cut back that much. They could make literally 1 fewer anime a year and just make all the other anime they make just that much higher quality. And I think the level of profit you get off of an anime like Demon Slayer versus an anime like Hell's Paradise is huge. I mean, Demon Slayer is this huge worldwide phenomena. There's all kinds of sales of toys. I mean, how many people do you see walking around with a freaking Nezuko t-shirt? A lot, right? You don't see anybody walking around with like a Hell's Paradise shirt. And maybe for like MAPPA, they don't really care because they make so many anime. They can have 1 or 2 anime a year just be duds. But I think it would be so much better for Studio MAPPA if they would actually make their anime, really, really good. Make One Punch Man level anime that sells merch, that takes off around the world, rather than shit like Hell's Paradise. Or, like Vinland Saga Season 2. Nobody's going to buy merch from Vinland Saga Season 2 with that level of animation. Now, I want to say here at the end that I don't think everything MAPPA's done has been bad. In fact, I think they've been a positive force in the anime industry as a whole. They've done things like save Attack on Titan from production hell. They've shown that self-financing a project can work with Chainsaw Man. I mean, that was a big thing. And I know that they, do slave labor, kind of. I mean, with their animators. I mean, who doesn't? Nike does, and I'm freaking wearing Nike. I don't know. Just let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you think MAPPA's bad? Do you think they're good? There's a lot of mixed opinions on this, and you're free to think whatever you want. I would highly recommend you check out my other video about Studio MAPPA. MAPPA ruined Attack on Titan. I'll give a link down in the description. And yeah, if you like me and you like my cute face, give me a like and give me a subscribe and all that jazz. And I guess I'll see you guys around. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you gamers later. Bye-bye.